All right, a new Wall Street Journal poll out just this week shows 62% of Americans say they still support the president's deportation efforts. At the same time, a majority in that poll say they oppose some of the ways the administration is going about it, with 58% saying they are against deportation without due process. Now, a number of community organizations, volunteers, and even app makers are stepping in to help. NBC News Now daily anchor and NBC News correspondent Morgan Radford has more on that. Morgan, good morning.
Hey there, Willie. Good morning. Yeah, that due process, that's the key part. We are now seeing dozens of groups across the country working on the ground, online, in their own communities to fight what they say is unnecessary action by ICE and by Border Patrol. Some are calling it the digital resistance. But as we found out, these volunteers are very real people with a very real stake in their communities.
Millions have seen the videos. More than 56,000 migrants arrested and detained since February.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor.
Nearly half of them without criminal convictions or pending criminal charges.
Hi, are you a federal agent?
Here in the town of Waltham, just outside of Boston, groups like these say they're fighting back.
People often use the word resistance. Is this what the resistance looks like?
Hell yeah.
Founded in February, Fuerzas volunteers go on near daily patrols, interacting with local residents and looking to spot ICE vehicles.
We engage ICE officers if they're on the street. We ask them to identify themselves, and we also make sure that if there is someone being detained, we take their information, we let them know their rights, and then we try to provide a safety net around their family.
Have you seen arrests happen in front of your eyes?
Yes. They had detained someone who was with a child, and we were able to walk him home because they just left him, on the street.
So you had to walk a child home after ICE agents took
Their caretaker.
the caretaker off the street.
Yeah.
An estimated 4.7 million children who are U.S. citizens have at least one undocumented parent. Families like Oscar's.
No queremos mostrar por miedo.
You don't want to show your face because of fear.
We're using a different name to protect his privacy. His partner, a mother of two who wants to go by the name Mariana, was released 2 weeks ago after spending nearly 2 months in a detention center.
Ella iba caminando a su trabajo.
She was just walking to work. Solo estaba caminando a su trabajo.
A su trabajo.
Y la pusieron en el carro.
En el carro.
So men just came, while she's on her way to work, they take her and they just put her in a car.
Sí.
Mariana was supposed to be here for this interview, but today she's in the hospital because of what Oscar says she experienced in detention.
Fiebre, dolor de barriga, debilidad.
She's got fever, she's got stomach pain, she's weak right now. ¿Qué tal las hijas? How are her daughters?
Bueno, para ella fue muy difícil. La niña grande nos cayó en depresión.
The older daughter immediately became depressed, wasn't able to sleep, but the younger daughter has autism and was reliant on her mother's support.
Oscar says he and his family received help from a Massachusetts-based network called Luce, which also runs a hotline for people to report ICE activity. They're just one of dozens of organizations across the country, online and in person, aimed at monitoring the agency. Like California-based People Over Papers, an online platform where volunteers can submit video or photos of suspected ICE sightings.
Where we're at right now is well past the 13 million users since we've started this operation. We have people that log on every single day that do not leave their home without first opening our map.
And your site, are you all volunteers?
That's correct. Yeah, we have not made a single dollar. In fact, we're probably in the negative because of the amount of money that we've donated to continue this project going.
The Trump administration has called for the Justice Department to investigate a similar app called IceBlock, which allows users to see real-time reports of ICE activity.
What do you say to administration officials who say that apps that identify ICE agents or ICE locations are actually causing those agents harm?
It's been pretty well established that those people have the right to the First Amendment. We still think it's important for people to step up and support in whatever ways they feel is necessary.
Are you all worried about being targeted by the administration or by officials?
We know our rights. We still have a constitution, and we're going to continue exercising our rights.
Now, of course, we reached out to the Department of Justice about ICE Block, People Over Papers, and Fuerza, which all operate in different ways. And they said they will not tolerate the use of apps that allow illegal aliens to evade capture and disclose the location of our law enforcement. Any threats to the safety of federal agents will be taken with the utmost seriousness and thoroughly investigated to ensure justice is served. Then separately, the White House also responded, and they said, in part, this was interesting. They said ICE officers are facing an 830% increase in assaults. Apps that encourage the doxing of ICE agents only feed into this dangerous trend, adding anyone who uses these apps to commit crimes will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. I do want to make it extraordinarily clear that none of the groups that we covered in this story are publicizing the names or the personal information of ICE agents, Willie.
Fascinating, Morgan. So we heard this is volunteer work. They're not making any money off this.
Not a
so the
dime.
question is, even though there are these groups across the country, is this sustainable?
Short answer, no. I mean, very specifically, you heard Celeste say with People Over Papers, they've been putting in their own money. She said, I'm willing to put up my own money if we can't continue. But Fuerza, when we asked Jonathan this very question, he said, look, we need the governor to step in and help. If you just look at the numbers, Fuerza themselves in person, they've seen over 100 arrests in the last 3 months. The hotline, Luce, that received these calls, they've had 8,000 calls just since February. So he said if the governor steps in Massachusetts to curb some of these ICE interactions, one thing that they could do would be to make these virtual court hearings a bit more accessible. So at least people aren't getting whisked away from the courthouses when they go to appear, but instead they can stay in the safety of their homes.
You know, John, as you listen to this, the Trump administration has moved to, we're going to get rid of the worst of the worst. MS-13, gangs, criminals, rapists, thugs, as the president would always call them, to scenes like Morgan just reported on, a caretaker being pulled away from a child and this volunteer group having to walk them home. This was not the original mission, they said.
Well, I mean, look, if you think about what Trump said during the campaign, the numbers that he sometimes forecast were very high. I mean, so there was a misalignment between the rhetoric, which is always we have to get rid of the worst of the worst, but then you'd say, well, how many people do you want to deport? And those numbers ranged from the high single-digit millions all the way up to 20 million that he sometimes would cite. And once you're talking about 20 million people, we're talking about not just the worst of the worst, you're talking about this larger group. What some predicted at the time was that if you tried to get to those larger numbers and you started to reach into these non-criminal categories of immigrants, that there would be political backlash. And if you look at Trump's numbers right now on immigration, they are underwater. He's the site of a lot of these stories in the public has provoked a certain amount of backlash. It's not overwhelming yet, but gradually his numbers on immigration, which were for a long time his strongest political card or strongest political issue, have deteriorated considerably. And I think they're going to keep getting worse if they keep going down this path.
So, John Lemire, talk about how the White House is balancing this. You have, in one instance, a southern border which Donald Trump promised he would secure. You wouldn't have the number of migrants crossing every day that you had during the Biden administration. That certainly is the case. I mean, the southern border is as secure as it's been in 60 years. On the other side of that, Joe Biden was able to deport a larger number of people who came here illegally because there were so many more near the southern border. Now that's not the case. So you have the Trump administration, on one hand, wanting to be able to celebrate basically, for the most part, quiet southern border. But to keep up with the numbers of Biden, to keep up with the numbers of Obama, they're having to go into neighborhoods. They're having to do things that they know are not politically positive for them, and also are just are brutish and turn off a lot of voters. Are they? Because I keep hearing that they're looking forward to the possibility of an immigration compromise on the Hill. Where are they right now, though, on that?
Yeah, a senior White House official and I had actually a very similar conversation earlier this week about this very issue. This official sort of categorized the Trump administration as being victims of their own success. this is his phrasing, because of how, as you say, the border has gone really quiet. They have been able to, had those early wave of deportations. But there's a demand from the top, and that's from President Trump, yes, about hitting numbers, making sure that deportations are out there. And it also just shows the empowerment of Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff. He is the architect of this deportation program. He's the one who's pushed federal agencies to go into places like Walmarts and into the communities to find people to get them out, Mike. And that has allowed them to try to hit some of these benchmark numbers, but it's also created these scenes that just brought to us in Morgan's report, and starting to trigger a real backlash. There's maybe an appetite for a larger immigration deal down the road. That's not anywhere close right now. So instead, we're left with this.
Well, and yes, and Morgan, your piece outlines and gets to one of the component parts of the unrest about this issue, in that families are now being broken up. Innocent families, hardworking families.
American families.
American families, yes. And it's also giving rise, and the piece alluded to this a bit, is a rising sense of vigilantism among people in neighborhoods like in Waltham, as you just pointed out, who patrol parking lots of supermarkets looking out for ICE members. And I'm just wondering, did you get a sense of the growth of this kind of movement, this kind of activity?
On behalf of ICE or the resistance?
Resistance.
Absolutely. I mean, and what they would say is Trump is essentially saying, I am creating a problem that only I can solve. He's essentially, by their words, making people illegal. People who are showing up at courthouses, who already have their papers submitted, who are doing all of the right things. He's creating a new generation of illegal Americans, and then saying that I'm the only one who can solve this problem that I have thusly created. And so they're saying this is the only thing we can do. We can fight digitally, we can fight from the comfort of our homes, we can fight by going in the community. But they said it's not just to protect the immigrants who are scared, who are in hiding, who are afraid to leave their homes. I personally know people who say, look, I only take my kid to school and I come home, I can't do any of the extracurriculars, I can't be a present parent in the community, I cannot contribute to the community in real time because I'm too afraid. And so when you have those types of people who are going into hiding, the Fuerza and the people who are showing the resistance are saying it's not just about supporting them, it's so that other Americans see that we are vigilant. It's so that other Americans see that we know this is not okay. So it's that Willie Geist knows it's not okay, so that Morgan Radford knows it's not okay, so Mike Barnicle knows it's not okay. Because their point is, now that you know, even though this isn't what Trump said, even though this isn't what he ran on, he said it was just the criminals, and everyone's finding out it's not just the criminals, even though that's what he promised, now that you see that that is not the promise that was fulfilled, what do you do about it?
Interesting to see people like Joe Rogan, too, time and again saying, this is not what we voted for. We voted for you to get rid of criminals, not to go into Home Depot parking lots and scoop people up. Fascinating, as always, from you, Morgan. NBC News correspondent, News Now anchor, Morgan Radford. Thank you.